Hi friends, welcome to day 2 of Inktober. And day 2, the prompt says weave. And before I get to inking this pencil drawing that I've done, I just want to share that this drawing means a lot to me because I am sharing with you a drawing that reflects my culture as a Cordilleran and as someone living in the Philippines. What you could see now right in front of you is actually a a a drawing inspired now by how the indigenous people weave the indigenous garments here in the Cordillera. The cloth that we use is um, sometimes in the Katagalugan areas they call it batik, but in my language we call it as inabal, which is basically now the woven cloth that symbolizes the culture and people here in the Cordillera. Um, the clothing that we use here are often dyed red, black, some hints of yellows and greens, and the process is very labor intensive. And here in Baguio City, we have actually a center located in Easter colleges that talks about and demonstrates how the tedious process is done. I'm just excited to talk more about this, but I'll probably shift into a voiceover mode while I want to focus and just really honor this piece and do the best that I can because it's a reflection of my identity, my roots, and as a culture bearer here in the Philippines. It sort of talks about a responsibility that I have, which is now to bring forward the culture that I grew up in, that benefited me, even if I'm not a native here in Baguio, but as someone who really engages in um, culture here in our region. So, with that being said, let's go to voiceover while I start to ink this. So, friends, if you're new to my channel, Inktober is a global challenge where you do one ink throwing a day, and for that's going to be for the entire month of October. It is a chance for everyone to push their skills, and this year I'm focusing on learning more and trying new approaches to drawing with pen and ink, especially finding ways to capture texture and depth. And I've been using brush pens, ink washes, and a Fude nib ink pen. But now I want to focus solely on using the brush pen. This one is by Tombow, and I'm working on a Tone Tan Strathmore sketchbook. And I initially already placed my sketch of the finalized output here using pencils. But now I just want to talk about the artwork of the Cordilleran textile, Baguio City, and the importance of preserving our genuine cultural heritage, especially being a proud culture bearer here in the Cordilleras. So for weave, I don't just want to draw a basket or a simple pattern. I wanted to draw hands, the actual process of creation. This is my piece, and it shows an artisan working on traditional Cordilleran textile, specifically beautiful, intricate patterns that is unique to northern Philippines. I spent a good amount of time figuring out how to use cross hatching and blotting in the ink pen just to come up with the patterns and sort of hint to you how the batik pattern shows up. So I hope it shows. This leads me now directly to the setting of this piece, which is the Cordillera region here in the Philippines, particularly with Baguio City being a cultural heart and a hub for arts. The Cordillera is a region of stunning natural beauty, more importantly, a stronghold for indigenous culture. Baguio, in particular, has been recognized by the UNESCO as a creative city of crafts and folk art, and it is just a beautiful place to visit. Breathing in the cold air compared now to other places in the Philippines, and I hope that people who are keen to visit my city here would just enjoy and take in what it has to offer. The weaving process itself is an art form and a tradition, and usually done on a backstrap loom or a similar traditional apparatus. It is not a quick factory work that is fast fashion. It's actually reflective of stories, community, nature, and even cosmology. Similar now to the classic Cordilleran tattoos, which is known as batok by the Kalinga people. The lines and patterns demonstrates now stories of the Cordilleran people. The textiles used for the batik is often from cotton, but historically and in many contemporary traditional practices, the dyes is what makes it unique. The dyes used are traditionally made from the local environment. Certain trees, leaves, and even mud are used now to color in the textile. A prominent color that you see here in the Cordillera is actually red, very striking red, which comes from a root crop used to color it in, and black, which comes from soot. It's a tedious process aside from just weaving itself. The production of the material used to make this is already very time consuming. The most important part of the discussion that I would want to talk about now is, as artists and consumers of culture, we have a deep responsibility to engage with and protect genuine cultural heritage. It's one thing to appreciate the beauty of a woven piece of fabric. It's another now to be mindful of the indigenous culture and their quest for self determination. We need to be critical of things like cultural appropriation, where traditional designs are used without permission, context, or compensation for the communities who created and sustained them. The Cordilleran people have fought hard to maintain their ancestral domains and ways of life. When you support authentic weavers or when you draw inspiration from a culture, you must do it with respect and acknowledgement. And here in my art piece, um, call it cheesy, but I got a little bit emotional during this part exactly while cross hatching or at least lining up what is hopefully is hinting at threads leading now to the woven patterns. It just got me thinking of the interconnectedness that we have with one another, but on the background, most of the indigenous people are left behind. Here in my country, in the Philippines, indigenous people are often looked down upon, and I guess that's true to other nations as well. I hope that eventually, we learn to empower them, um, be less of using them as trophies or as jokes, punchlines, because um, what they have and what they brought actually built up the communities that we have currently. Without the indigenous culture, without the indigenous people, there would be no modernity that we have. Um, and I just want to add that it's about now acknowledgement and respect. It's about recognizing that patterns like this that I'm drawing right now is actually intellectual property and has historical narratives and sacred symbols. These are not just cool designs. I tried my best to sort of come up with a more original pattern because the patterns they used for their batik cloths are more sacred and more traditional, and I would want to respect boundaries. But I'm sharing right now some photos of traditional patterns that you may see on Cordilleran people's clothing. So I'm drawing hands on the loom today for weave as my personal pledge to draw with more intention, to look past the surface and acknowledge the hands that put in the labor, the history that created the pattern, and the people who are fighting to keep the tradition alive. I encourage you, dear viewers, to do the same. When you see a beautiful piece of indigenous art, take an extra moment to learn from it, acknowledge the origins if you can, and support the original creators. Please do let me know if you would want to learn more or if you find now um, me talking about more serious topics like this a bit too overbearing, or if you find it more amusing. But definitely, I will be still posting and we'll talk about traditions and my values relentlessly. And I hope that people who share the same values as that would choose to stay and hopefully, maybe if not, then at least I hope that you learned a thing or two about my culture, and I hope that you guys visit the Cordillera eventually. It's a really beautiful place to be in. So let me know in the comments, what are you weaving into your art practice for this year. For me, I would want to be more confident in sketching and drawing still life. What are your intentions for your Inktober, and how's the process has been, and if you're enjoying Inktober so far. So that's it. I think I'm done with my sketch for day two of Inktober, which is weave, and it is now hands working on weaving a part of my identity and the culture here in the Cordillera. I hope you learned a thing or two, and maybe for my friends in the Philippines or those who are willing to travel here in Baguio City, I hope that you come here less of just seeing it as a tourist trap, but really as a hub for culture and art. So, friends, I hope you're having a great day, week, month, year, and I wish you all the love. And as always, peace. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.